Hey everybody, it's been, I have no idea, several days since I made the last video. Obviously you can tell I'm in a bit more of a chipper mood than I have been lately. Mostly because I did notice that my pissy mood depression sort of was setting in the other videos, and it doesn't make them fun to watch. Um, and so I've been kind of like fucking around for a little while trying to get ready to make this video. So I was like, I should get water, I should get this, I should do all these extra things that have nothing to do with making the video, but are going to give me a little bit of time to calm down and really say what I want to say. This is day whatever. I'm going to talk about sexuality today, which is one of those topics that definitely does make me nervous. I It's really hard to talk about, so I decided right before this that I was going to write some things down, like try to journal it out, and it didn't work either. It was very hard to even write about in a thoughtful manner. I know I've said little tidbits about how I feel in passing, in writing, just stream of consciousness type of things, but really to get to the heart of how I feel about my own sexuality or sexuality in general, it, sexuality in general would be a lot easier, but this is about me because it's my channel. Um, so while this is going to be difficult for me, I'm going to try to get through it because I've practiced it a little bit. So the easiest way for me to get into this is talk about the physical differences in terms of sexuality, like be my sex drive, basically. What's different now as opposed to before? Which the first obvious answer is that okay, I'm a lot more horny than I used to be. In fact, before I barely was at all. And when I would kind of get in the mood, it was more of a psychological state than a physical need, um, like a physical feeling. It was a mental feeling versus a physical feeling. Now it's definitely both, um, but it's kind of brought on in a physical sense. It's pretty hard to ignore, um, harder to get out of the mood too. Um, so I guess that would be an interesting difference. Like it's really not as much of a big deal when there's those little distractions going on that get your head out of the space that you need to be in to be in a sexual environment. And let me think what else. Physically, I'd say that I notice things that attract me or make me aroused a little bit more. Things and people. Nothing really did that to me before. In fact, I was never really sexually attracted to anyone. It was always emotional or a little bit of aesthetic, but it really was never in a way that was like, I want to fuck you or anything like that. I feel like that is going to be, it's partly to do with that I transitioned and then I was really not comfortable with my sexual self beforehand, didn't want to explore anything. And partly because of my Asperger's, which has I've definitely been delayed in the relationship arena in general. I remember being in high school, for example, and still thinking it was kind of cute to like draw on people's faces, and that's how I would show affection. It was really kind of like 8-year-old, 10-year-old style. So I've definitely had uh, a slower development in the way that I express relationships and the way I want them to develop. But I'm not sure, which parts of that are related to that, and which parts are related to the fact that I'm way more comfortable with myself now, which means I can, in turn, be more comfortable with my sexual self. Uh, Going from that, it's still something that's really personal for me, but it doesn't mean I want to share it. I don't want to share it. My sexuality. It's definitely helped me learn, like coming out in general, has helped me learn more about my body, the things that I like, and really the role of sexuality in my relationships with people, which is as much as I really enjoy certain like sexual behaviors, it's really not a big part of the relationship process. Intimacy definitely, but the physical act of sex itself, it doesn't play as large a role in my relationships as I think it does in other people's. I really still would like, something on a daily or other frequent basis, and I haven't had any in about a year and a half, if anybody's wondering. But it's not something that is on my mind when I'm meeting people or I'm looking for dates or anything. It's really, I want to hang out with people. I want to be able to connect with them because I've tried it before, and honestly, I cannot be sexual with somebody that I'm not connected with. Um, Before I couldn't even be like physically attracted to somebody, like before transition, until I had a connection with them. Now I can definitely be like, okay, you're an attractive person. I like you. And something about that bothers me. That I've become a little bit more bitter about things. But I can obviously take a step back from that and realize what's going on. It's not like I've been clouded in any way by it. Um, the last thing I wanted to mention briefly about my sexuality, um, and how I kind of identify. I remember identifying in a different sense in a previous video as a butch twink, my own sort of gender queer, but that's more of a non-sexual identity for me. Really, I have a hard time putting labels to what my sexuality is. I generally say bisexual to people that don't really know what's going on, aren't up on the terms. I say pansexual for people who know what that is, but I really like to default to using the word queer because it definitely is easier for me. I like people that have multiple layers to their personalities. There's just something about them and energy that attracts me. There's no one physical thing, or I mean, there's a couple things that I definitely am not attracted to, and it will shut the conversation down right there. And that's if you're stupid is the main one. But uh, I mean, I've had recently these thoughts in my head of like a future relationship self, that of like a femme tomboy type of girl, somebody who can float between the two, a very genderqueer kind of person who can still be a girly girl at times, but who's not, I think, so femme that I can't connect on that kind of friend level. Um, I don't know. That's even evolving too, and I think that is also in flux right now, as I'm starting to talk with people from my past and certain new people. It's definitely tough to talk about, especially because you don't know who's going to be watching. Alright, so I've decided to cut this one to the end right now because that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I'm not super comfortable talking about it, which doesn't mean that I won't, but it's going to be awkward, so I have to deal with it. Alright, yeah, that's about it, and if you have any questions or wanted to chit-chat about back and forth about anything, just shoot me a message. I'm pretty good about responding. It might take some time, but I'm pretty good about it. Alright, have a good one.